Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. Today I'm going to be trying to answer a question that has vexed mankind since, well, at least since 2010 when AliExpress first opened their doors for business. Are Chinese watches actually as waterproof as they claim to be? You know what I'm talking about, I'm sure. Sometimes I see a watch and I see a waterproof rating on the dial and I wonder if they've just invented that figure and slapped it on there, or if the watch actually is that water resistant. Well, we're going to test some of those watches out today, or at least we're going to test one end of the market anyway, because I've just bought a new piece of equipment. This one. And no, it's not one of those, thank you very much, that has already been suggested rather cruelly by Ricky from Scottish Watches when I showed him the thumbnail. It is a water pressure tester. Admittedly, it's not a particularly elaborate or expensive one. It only goes up to 60 meters, so 6 atmospheres of water pressure tested. Now that is not enough to do the serious divers obviously, but it is enough to separate the wheat from the chaff at the bottom end of the market. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. I've got 7 watches to test. 4 of them from AliExpress and a few bits and pieces here and there. Let's flip the camera and get on with it. Now the first watch getting wet today is my 2015 Breitling Navitimer. My Navi is rated to 30 meters of water resistance only, so I'll be really interested to see at what point water starts coming in through those pushers. Yeah, right. As if I don't even wear that bloody thing when I'm doing the dishes. The first watch that I'll be testing today is this rather beaten up old Casio F91W that used to belong to a mate of mine. I sold him it in the first place. Now the Casio, as you can see on the dial there, is only water resistant. It's a kind of benchmark for us today. That means 30 meters only. However, I have heard reports that this thing goes diving with ease. The reason that this one is going diving today is because, as you can see, the strap has been chewed. I'm going to do 30 meters and then I'm going to crank it up to 60, 6 atmospheres, and see how the plucky F91 gets on. Following the F91, I'm going to put one of my 2 beloved Cadison C1032s in there. This one is rated at 50 meters. I really hope that it's true because I like that watch. I don't want to kill it. I would, however, happily kill this one. This is the awful Brigada Zelos homage that I bought on Amazon. It's a beast. It's also rated at 50 meters. Let's see if I can kill this one. Next up after the Brigada is the Siston. Clearly a date-just homage. This one was sent to me by the company with no obligation to have a look at and see if I wanted to review it. I politely declined, and I'm rather glad that I did because when I was getting it ready for this video, the crown fell out. I did, however, then take the case back off, put the crown back in, and I'm confident that this watch is now as waterproof as it was when it left the factory. Exactly how waterproof that is remains to be seen, however. Following the Siston is the plucky Loris Quartz. You may remember this one from the Can You Buy a Decent Watch for £10 video that I made at the beginning of last year. All of these watches, Siston included, are rated at 100 meters, so I'm not going to be testing them to their full capacity today, given that the pressure tester actually only tests to 60 meters, so surely then all of these watches should be on easy street. It should be no worry for the Loris. Likewise, it should be no worries at all for the 2 dive style Pagani design watches that I'm going to test as well. Paganis, I've always said your money stretched very, very thinly across all of the specifications that these watches on offer. Interesting to see only 100 meters of water resistance offered by both of these Paganis. I guess we're about to find out today if your money is stretched too thinly across the water resistance rating as well. They call this second one the Explorer. I don't call it an Explorer. It's far more like a Yachtmaster combined with a Submariner. But Yachtmariner probably wouldn't have looked as good on the dial. And here is my enlargement pump, water pressure tester. I bought this one for about 180 Aussie dollars on ebay.com.au. There are plenty of them around. I'll leave a link to that one in the description of the video if you fancy picking one of these up for yourself. Pretty straightforward. Gauge on the front there from 0 to 6 bar, so vertical equals 3 bar. Here's me filling it up with water. You've got a couple of screws on either side, then you pump it up and then press the white button on top to release. There we are, that's it to 3 atmospheres, and I'm pressing the button to release. In goes the first watch, the plucky Casio F91W. I would love for the F91 to survive this test, but I'm not going to be crying my eyes out if it breaks, given that it's only £10 in the first place, and this one has been well chewed up by my mate Kenny. So in the first instance, I'm going to pump this one up to 30 meters, 3 atmospheres of water resistance. That's actually the maximum rating that this watch has, given that it has the word water resistant on the dial. That's what water resistant on the dial of a watch means. However, like I said, I have heard very very, very good things about the F91W. So if it survives 30, I'm going to take it all the way to 60 meters and see if it can survive 5 minutes at that as well. Turning the speed up, you can see on the digital display, 5 minutes passes, no problems at all, no water bubbles escaping. The Casio has passed the test at 30 meters. Let's double the pressure. Let's crank it up to 60 meters, give it another 5 minutes. And yes, no problems at all. The Casio is passing the test with flying colours. I am, of course, not going to suggest that you should all jump in the pool with your Casio F91s because this is just one example. And of course, you should not press any of those buttons underwater. But this strongly suggests that this little Casio, not only is it magnificently cheap, has all the functions you need on a watch, it's also far more waterproof than Casio actually suggests that it is. Alright, next up, I'm a little more nervous about this one. It is one of my Cadison C1032s, a watch that I bought on AliExpress a couple of years ago. Part of my collection. I do enjoy this watch. It's cracking value, Seiko, sapphire, stainless steel construction, good looking watch, $50, no brainer. Also rated at 50 meters of water resistance, and here I am cranking it to exactly 50 meters of water resistance. Zoom in, turn the speed up, you can see that second hand spinning away. End of the 5 minutes, no water bubbles have emerged from this one. I can breathe a sigh of relief. My Cadison goes back in the box. Jobs are good in here. It passes the test at 5 atmospheres, 50 meters, which is what it's rated at. Next into the chamber is the Brigada. I believe it's made of brass. I don't really care. It could just be coated steel. I bought it as a bit of a laugh and it's been sitting in the box ever since. I thought it would be a fine and fitting way to destroy this thing is to exceed that water rating of 50 meters. I'm going to take this one all the way up to 60 meters and leave it for a couple of minutes. Definitely more air in this one than in one of the Casio F91s, for example. So perhaps there is capacity there for air to leak. It doesn't have a screw down crown either, and it's only a press on case back. You can't see the dial, but let me assure you, rather disappointingly, this one is still ticking. 5 minutes later, no air bubbles have emerged. The Brigada, rather sadly, has passed the test. Surely they can't all pass. Surely we'll have a failure at some point. Otherwise, this is going to be a real turkey of a video. Next up, it's the System, a watch that I'm already happy that I didn't review on the channel. It's got that date just look. It's only about $60, but you may as well buy a Pagani for the same price. Pumping it up to 60 here, which is well under the 100 meters claimed on the case back. But what is this? 2 minutes into the 5, I'm going to slow it down. You can see there we are, just a little bit of movement from the watch, and it fills with water. Ladies and gentlemen, we may not have a winner yet, but we certainly have a loser, and that loser is the System. I take it out of the pressure tester, you can see it has absolutely filled up with water. And if I turn the watch over to show you the 100 meters of water resistance, you can see exactly why it has filled up with water. The display case back has shattered in no uncertain terms. Now, I was actually really delighted, not only because that means we now have a loser, it also means that this is genuinely a test for these watches. It didn't just leak a few bubbles through the crown or something, it actually blew the case back properly to pieces, thereby validating the test process at least a little bit today. So the System failed then. What of the Loris? This actually is a really, really decent little watch. Loris are owned by Seiko. It's got a day-date movement. It's got a bit of lume there. I put a fresh battery in it and I think my total outlay was about 22 Australian dollars. Unfortunately, it's a bit small for me and the bracelet is a proper hair nipper, so it has been languishing in the box. It'll tick in the box for another couple of years until it finds a new home. End of the 5-minute test period, this one, no problems at all. Loris passes with flying colours, as it should do because it is also 100 meter rated, though that didn't mean much for the System, did it? Alright, finally the two Pagani designs. Again, bit of fear and trepidation here, only 100 meter rated on the dial and on the case backs of these watches. Let's pump it all the way up to 60 meters, 6 atmospheres of water pressure and see how it gets on. You can see the second hand spinning away there, no problems at all. End of the 5 minutes. Pagani number 1, the Yacht Mariner, passes no problems at all. Again, a bit of a sigh of relief because I have reviewed a ton of Paganis on the channel and they would certainly be a bit of egg on my face if the case back or similar shattered, if it couldn't even handle 60 meters. Next up, it was the Christopher Ward type homage, the one on the rubber strap. Again, 6 atmospheres, no problems at all for 5 minutes. It looks therefore like we only have one failure, that being the System. So there you have it, or what do you have? Are Chinese watches actually as waterproof as they claim to be? Well, I think some of them are, and some of them aren't. The star of the show today, the undoubted winner, of course, was the Casio F91W. £10, $10, incredible little watch, and I was delighted that it took twice the pressure that it is rated at without leaking. I was also delighted to see the Cadison C1032 come through with flying colours and both of those Pagani designs. It would have been a tad embarrassing if they couldn't even handle 60 metres, let alone the 100 that they were rated to. Unfortunately, the System was the undoubted failure today, proving that some Chinese manufacturers do indeed slap anything they like on the dial. That caseback was absolutely wafer thin. I chucked the glass in the bin and there was virtually nothing there. Obviously, this test had its limits because of the pressure tester, only rated up to 6 atmospheres of water pressure. Perhaps I will pick up a professional one at some point in the future, but they are a couple of grand, so don't hold your breath there. It's been a fun exercise. Maybe I will redux this one with another half dozen cheap watches at some point in the future. Thanks for watching. I will see you then, if not before.